What is up, fellow Gwent player? Thank you for clicking this video. My name is Scoia'Tael and this YouTube channel is all about bringing you fun and competitive decks to play. If that's what you're into, consider subscribing. This is the third installment of the Team Leviathan Gaming budget deck series covering the Scoia'Tael. If you've missed the video where I go over the Nilfgaard and the monster budget decks, I will put them up on the screen so you can check out those as well, but for now let's focus on the Scoia'Tael budget deck, Wuzubia and Hippotompotamus put together for Team Leviathan Gaming. At the end of the series I will be very proficient at pronouncing his name. As always, you will find timestamps in the description for your viewing pleasure, as well as a link to the Gwent deck library so you can import the deck and start playing the deck right away. So let's dive into the Scoia'Tael budget deck, starting with the leader ability. If you study the website of Team Leviathan Gaming, you will notice that the leader ability of the first deck for Scoia'Tael is Guerilla Tactics, and as with all TLG budget decks, they do provide updates for you to invest more scraps into the deck and factions so you can upgrade the deck. And for the upgrades they switch to Nature's Gift. Nature's Gift, where are you? Getting lost. So they switch to Nature's Gift for the upgrades. I do not know whether or not this is a typo on their part or if they honestly believe this is a good leader ability to have. The movement part of it has absolutely no synergy with any card in the deck whatsoever. The best use is usually to disable an enemy engine, but honestly you might as well swap Guerilla Tactics with something like Invigorate, which has some synergy with Sheldon Skags and Mahakam Defenders, or already switch over to Nature's Gift right away. When you do the latter, you might as well take out the Vrihedd Dragoons, which are over here somewhere, and put into Hamadryads. Here they are. But let's get back on the topic. This deck introduces you to a very important Scoia'Tael mechanic, which is Harmony. It does so in the form of two half-elf hunters and also two Dryad Rangers. That means every time you put down a Scoia'Tael unit, so that's basically a green card, like with this green bar, those cards will get boosted by 1 power, which is pretty neat. So that means the deck also has a combination of half elves, dryads, dwarves, humans, witchers, etc. They all allow you to let your harmony units grow. So that's your long round strategy basically. And as you might have noticed, the Dryad Rangers have poison, so that is complemented by the Forest Whisperers and a Weeping Willow, and they both introduce new categories as well. The Weeping Willow is Entrant and the Forest Whisperer is a Dryad, which will help you get your harmony procs. So let's talk about the dwarves in this deck. The most notable one is Sheldon Skags. This is an awesome card which can provide huge tempo swings. You want to boost this card while he is in your hand, so his deployed damage goes up. I've gotten him as high as 20 power, which will then do 14 single target damage, which felt pretty cool to do. I think that's a respectable number, but let me know in the comments below if you have like a higher record of Sheldon Skags power. Maybe I'll make a meme deck for a Super Skags and make a highlight reel of it or something like that. Another card that wants to be boosted is the Mahakam Defender. If Mahakam Defender is boosted, you will gain 1 power at the end of your turn, so that's pretty nice for long rounds as well, together with the harmony stuff. The defenders can get boosted while in your hand or on the board, it doesn't really matter. When they get damage to their base power or below, they will lose the active ability, so that's something to keep in mind. There are 2 Mahakam Volunteers in the deck as well. They provide you with decent tempo and some deck thinning. Keep in mind you need a dwarf already in play to get the deploy ability. The amount of times I've played this without already controlling a dwarf and then not getting the deploy and punching myself in the face can honestly not be counted on one hand. So learn from my mistakes, guys, please. The dwarf package is concluded with 2 Mahakam Marauders, which are pretty boring, but they do give you 6 points for proficiency, so that's nothing to scoff at, and they provide you some consistency for having dwarves in hand for the harmony procs or to activate Mahakam Volunteers as well. So we also have ourselves the Vrihedd Dragoons, which we already talked about. I have no clue why you would run those without any other synergies. So if you already opened some packs and got some other Scoia'Tael units that you think are cool to play, please do so. Please, it's not that hard to even find neutrals that give you consistent 5 or 6 points for 4 provisions. If you do have the Dryad Fletchlings, those... Oh, what did I... Am I missing a card? I took out the Mahakam Volunteers. I will put those in a sec. But if you have... Yeah, you can just honestly take those out, put those in, and put back the Mahakam Defender on a Volunteer. I just took out one Mahakam Volunteer. That's so sad, honestly. Forever alone. But honestly, you could just put in the Dryad Fletchlings. It works really well with the deck, so I would highly suggest you run those instead if you have them. You might even have a good gold card to put in there as well, because there's a lot of headroom in the provisions. So if you got like a powerful neutral card or a good gold, just put them in. But I digress. We run some pretty cool Scoia'Tael cards on the top end. Milaen is one of them. As points for proficiency, she's not the best, but when you find an engine to kill, she makes more than up for it. Pavko Gale is another unit that can really rack up points over a long round and kind of demands an immediate answer from your opponent, or he just takes over the round basically. And then we have a lady whose name I shall not try to pronounce, but she usually provides a solid 9 power for 7 provisions, or re-enables one of your cards to gain value over time again. So that's pretty good overall. And the list is completed with some neutral cards. We already saw in the other factions budget decks as well, like our trusted friend Geralt of Rivia for tall removal. We have a Thunderbolt in here, which is not very sexy, but has some value in buffing stuff like the Mahakam Defenders and protecting your units like Pavko Gale. And there's of course Mr. Silence on a stick. Oh, I took out Mr. Silence on a stick. Man. I'm just randomly clicking today, guys. Sorry about that. And there is a Lacerate as well. Lacerate, whatever. So I will put back the units from the original list. Yeah, we're back to original. And let's take the deck for a spin and see how well it performs.
Pride is all we've left.
It is a mirror match. This guy might actually be playing the upgraded TLG deck. So that's 2 poison units. That's some harmony guys. Actually, I kind of want 2 harmony guys. Or 2. I'd rather have 2 poison units than 3. Because the last poison is a bit wasted. Well, thanks. I do not have a way to buff the Mahakam Defender, which is kind of annoying. Alright, I can... This happens a lot versus Honker Smugglers. Maybe I will just... Yeah. I'm going with I'm sticking to the harmony plan. And I'm just putting this on the other row, so it doesn't work. It doesn't boost this whole hand. It's kind of annoying to deal with. Like, I could use Geralt, but I'd rather save Geralt to give my harmony units the harmony buff. And maybe place like a Great Oak we can target or something like that.
One more feather and
We could put that on the other row again. Or we could just let it live and use Geralt anyway. Like the hard part of this deck is like you want to play a Harmony unit like half elf hunter soon. You want to play this Pavko Gale soon, as soon as possible in a round. The Weeping Willow and this guy as well. He's going wide, so that's great for the Lacerate. I'm gonna start shooting this guy. So you kind of have to find a balance, or you kind of have to decide how much long round ammunition you're going to use early on, like how many Harmony units and whether or not you're going to use Pavko Gale and the Weeping Willow. Like you want to play all your Harmony units like in the first round, but you can't, so. Like this guy's a human, so we don't even have a whole lot of ways to proc additional Harmony. But he isn't having the long, strong round he was planning to either, so this game could go either way. Alright, we have found ourselves a reasonable target for our true friend Geralt. Let's go with the other Harmony guy, since we're gonna play Geralt anyway. Might as well get some extra Harmony out of it. We might actually need the tempo from the other half-elf hunter. Ooh, I always like passing after my opponent plays a trap, because then they don't get the value. Like, it's not the horn thing either that boosts adjacent cards. But this might be an incinerating trap which damages my unit by 5, so this might be a good point in time to play my Witcher friend. Alright, it didn't go off. I'm not sure what trap this is then. So we can basically, like, nothing is really worth locking at this point. Like, we should have locked this right at the start, or not at all, save the lock for a later round. Additional Harmony at this point in the game is a bit weird, because this won't proc additional Harmony, so this is just a weak 3-point play, and 1 poison doesn't do a whole lot. This is decent on 4 units, depending on what he plays right next to it. We can play absolutely play the Mahakam Volunteers, which will summon another one. So that's nice. Actually, we have quite a lead, so I'm seriously considering passing at this point. I love this card art, by the way. The blue flower thing. Like, Gwent is a lot of, for me, a big reason to play Gwent is because the card art is like so cool. Maybe we should have passed last round, but well, we got him uneven, so that's alright. I think we would rather play a long round 3 than bleed him on round 2. We can play this on the Mahakam Defender. Maybe get a card out of it. On the other hand, if he plays a card, I've played this card, doesn't really matter. Those are all decent cards, but I'm saving them for a long round. He's throwing a half-elf hunter away? Well, like, maybe he has another one and he has like a handful of Harmony units, but This is very nice. So we are very nice. It's not Sheldon. It's just... Alright, let's see if we can find a... Yeah, that's 2 poison units, so that's... I'm putting this away as well. Might end up being a useful Vrihedd Dragoon in this round, depending on his engines. So we have 2 Harmony Dryads, and we do have a Mahakam Defender which we want to boost. So we're probably going to open with the Dryads, but it depends if he plays something that's worth poisoning. It has feel, so there is our answer. Maybe we want to play one anyway, but then we have to poison a 2/2, which is very awkward. But when we open with the dwarves, we will lose the dwarf harmony stack on 2 harmony units. So, but that's like 2 points. As long as we can kill something that's 4 points or more, it pays off to save the poison. So I am going to boost the dwarf. That might be a decent... that's feel. And we can damage it and then lacerate it, but I'd rather pull off my own game plan. The only awkward thing is that I want to play my harmony units sooner rather than later, but this isn't a very good... There is no decent poison target, so I'm playing the dwarf. Those are on the... Doesn't matter on which row, so... Whatever. Like we're already missing the dwarf harmony stack on the Dryad Rangers anyway. So we don't lose a whole lot. I want him to play a decent poison target. That might be the best we're getting today, because it has harmony. I could have purified that. If he's not killing that, I'm purifying it, so he can poison it. It does cost me 1 harmony stack on the other Dryad Ranger, but I think it will be worth it.
The time of the white frost and white light is nigh.
And we can put this on the other row. It's better for the Lacerate as well. It's actually not that bad. Like the Dryad Rangers are so awkward to play correct, because you want to play at the start of the round to get the harmony procs, but on the other hand, it's like this only single target removal I have. But hey, it's a very versatile card and powerful for what it can do for its provision cost. I believe this is just 4. Oh, it's 5 provisions. Eh. Let's bring out the last harmony unit. Not the most exciting poison target in the game, because it will only make our Lacerate worse. But hey, harmony is harmony. Harmony gonna harmony. Poor girl. It's a trap. So when there's a trap, you generally want to play a low provision cost, low power unit. Throwing this into it, and we can put the Wandering Trend on the same row as the others. for the Lacerate. Hopefully I can lock something useful. Well, sure. We're gonna damage some random targets, basically. Because we want to have Lacerate to have the full value. Well, I won't get the full value because of the shield, but this is a pretty decent Lacerate finisher. I'm thinking it will be enough. We went into this round with one card over our opponent. Actually, now that I think of it, there have been quite a few interesting choices to make. Whether we're using the Guerilla Tactics or we're using the Vrihedd Dragoon. This is a big finisher. Is it big enough? I'd rather see for myself than do the math. It's not enough. The Great Oak. 1. The Great Oak, we got out-oaked. We're playing a budget deck, which does not have enough money for a great expensive tree like that. Feels bad, man. It did come down to one card. Like, this is bound to happen if you're playing budget decks, but it still feels bad. Let's see what we can do against the Nilfgaard guy. That are quite a few dwarfs, but not a lot of ways of boosting them. I like having a poison, I like having some tar removal, but we're probably not boosting 2 of the Mahakam Defenders. Pavko Gale. Putting Lacerate away, because I think most of the Nilfgaard cards are reactive rather than proactive. Stat slam. How are we going to deal with this? We cannot poison it. So that means with the Dryad Ranger out of the question, we probably want to just play the Half-Elf Hunters. We can Geralt it later on. We could move it to another row next to another of his own units. We cannot silence it because silence is a status that took me a while to get in this game. So let's do our own thing.
A taste of Northland, is it?
You annoy me.
Like this. We can poison this. Poison this, Geralt this. Easy. Find a way to incorporate those. We'll probably want to poison it once. Then play Pavko or Mahakam Defender.
100 faces, all yours to command.
Leave while you still stand.
We're poisoning this one. So we got all our harmony units in play, so that leaves us with Pavko and Mahakam Defender, which we want to play ASAP. Oh, there's something to be said to... Alright, this is going to 4 damage now, so we can use... Wait, I thought we had the 4 damage thing in hand, but we don't. But we can just lock that, so that won't be a problem anymore. So he can mess with us all he wants, but we still have 2 harmony engines. That is quite an annoying card. Honestly, if we Geralt this, we can probably make him pass. Let's put some more stuff down first. Let's bait him a little bit. Like, I'm not going to play Pavko Gale right now, because if we Geralt this, that's such a strong tempo play that I think it will be enough to win the round. Oh, we still have to finish this off, probably. So we can do just that. We're probably playing those two. Or we can just play Geralt and see whether he passes or not.
You simply must pay my estate a visit one day.
It's alright. Actually, this guy is gonna... We don't have a dwarf in play anymore. That means we're trying to end the round right here. Don't think he can play 13 power in one card, so we will maybe lose the round, but we will gain card advantage. Because his Master of the Skies and the Assimilate chick will gain value over time, so we'd rather not have him gain value over time. Or we could honestly just play those two. He is using his hero power. Alright.
I shall relieve him of all burdens.
Honestly, this is a great moment to pass, because he still needs, if he uses this active, like this will, like we're saying to this guy, like, you can have the round, but we'll have card advantage of 2 cards over you, which is honestly pretty great. Because at the end of his round he will gain 1 power on this guy, but we will have to play a card to win.
Proceed according to plan.
So we're 2 cards up. He'll probably give me a short pass, but then we'll go in into the last round with 1 card up, which is good. Alright, this buffs this. This is a bit of an awkward card because we can play it for a short round. If it gives us a dry pass for playing this, this won't trigger, so it won't do anything. It won't summon the other volunteer. Putting that away, we only have 1 poison. I hate these Vrihedd Dragoons. That is a bit awkward. We can just play this, no biggie. Picking this so it gets boosted right away. And he already used his leader ability. Like, we still have 4 points on that. Like, it's not... I would personally pick another leader ability, like we talked about, but hey. That's still some trick up our sleeve for the last round. Alright, that's 2 poisons, that's good. This is alright. This is just bad. I don't think a Lacerate will hit more than 3 targets. Putting that away. Another poison, that's nice. Another harmony as well. No! I don't like volunteers anymore. So our harmony units apply poison as well, so we're opening with this. Putting in on the melee row because Pavko and some other things will go on the range row. Well, that just helps us. I could have put them on the row, on the other row with the leader ability. That would probably have been better to save the poison for Another unit.
Divined this move from a sparrow's
Oh well.
hands.
We can still do that, honestly.
The wood shall
Giving
turn
that
against
poison, I'm
you.
putting this on another row. I should have done that on... I did that in the wrong order. I should have moved him to the other row before I played another card that gave a boost to the harmony guy. That's 1 point. That cost me 1 point. Alright. We want to save this guy. Mainly. Can just... No, that's ranged. Can put... Or we can put it in... Can put this in another row. So this lives. It's not the greatest. Because then it ends up being here or here and we need to put something right between it. Like we already have a Dryad, so this won't give a whole lot. I'm in no rush to kill this with poison. I think I'm...
Wake up, dwarves! Humans lust after our lady folk!
Kind of negates a poison stack. Like this is awkward. This is an awkward hand to have. Gonna want to play this because that gains value over time as well. Maybe I should have played this first. It would have procced the harmony. Now this won't have any harmony stacks. Oh well.
I'll do as you ask. This time. Your next move shall be your last! Tussa is my ward.
I really do hope he does not have a lock in his hand. I'm playing the lowest unit, so we're not giving 6 points away, but if he has a lock he will probably use it on the Whipping Willow to steal it. It's a pretty cool card. Emean de la Tour. I like the design. We got this one in the pocket. Oh, we don't. Oh man! Oh!
Leave it to us.
That did come down to 2 points. Like we missed 1 harmony stack and maybe we could have... Like literally if we would not have had 2 Mahakam Volunteers in our hand we would have won. Like just something that would have given me like 6 instead of 4 points on board. Okay, so I am going to be brutally honest about this. I don't think the Scoia'Tael budget deck TLG put together is good. And I don't think that the deck is fun to play. And while it's easy to trash talk the deck, that's not necessarily the thing I want to do, but I rather want to put my finger on it as to why. So there's 2 parts in this, not being good and not being fun. So let's start with the first one. First of all, there is much more potential in the Scoia'Tael faction, but doesn't really get used or put in the deck. The monster budget deck I covered not too long ago has 5 spare provisions. The Nilfgaard budget deck has 12 spare provisions. I checked real quick on the Northern Realms and the Skellige budget decks I still have to cover and they have 12 and 13 spare provisions. The Scoia'Tael budget deck TLG made has 19 provisions, which is the most of any budget deck. So no shit like it feels like it lacks oomph. Just put Roach in it or something like that. It's in the Nilfgaard deck too. It's good to craft the card anyway for beginners. So there's that. In terms of provisions, there is just a lot of unused potential, honestly. But there's another reason why I don't think the deck is powerful, and that's simply the leader ability. Now, if you look closely at the TLG budget deck section, one of the first upgrades they recommend at the time was the Trandbor, which obviously has synergy with Guerilla Tactics and the Vrihedd Dragoons, which move units around, as you can see over here. But in the vanilla version, like the starter version, it's just not there, and in my opinion running Invigorate is just better in any way. Honestly, it has more synergy with the dwarves you want to boost. It's just better. And the same thing goes for the Vrihedd Dragoons. Those slots would be much better used on like Hawker Smugglers. You see those a lot in Scoia'Tael decks, or Dwarf Berserkers. Those are just 30 scraps to craft, by the way. Or just put a Dryad Fletchling or a Trained Hawk in there. Like a Trained Hawk as a beast tribe, so it even adds another way of adding harmony to the deck, which is just does do a whole lot more to the deck than moving something to the other row. Another point that is a mixture of why the deck does not function well and why the deck is, in my opinion, not very fun to play, is that a lot of cards want to be played early in the round. You want to drop your harmony cards as soon as possible, so you get the harmony procs. You want to drop the Mahakam Defenders as soon as possible, so you can get him to stack as soon as possible. You want Pavko Gale, and to a lesser extent units that give vitality for 4 turns, to come down early too. It's just too many cards that are good early in the round and get progressively worse once the round goes on. Like all those cards want to do the same thing, and there's only one of them that can be played on that moment. And this is very important, because that is where the question, what is the most optimal way to play this deck, turns into, I got 5 options, we have no clear winner, what option sucks the most? And I honestly think that was a big reason why I went into the realms of the Tilt Gods during my games with this deck. Because I felt like I was fighting a losing battle, and consistently making choices of what sucks the least, instead of having that awesome feeling dropping a huge tempo swing with the monster deck or resummoning a Roachwood's Essire in the Nilfgaard deck. Those decks communicate the way they're supposed to be played very well, and if you lose, it's usually something you can look at and say, that's probably where I dropped the ball or where it went wrong. But if you lose a game with the Scoia'Tael deck and you're going over that game and you're more like, yeah, I could have played that other harmony unit first to have one more harmony proc, but then I would not have been able to poison that unit later on in the game, and in the end it probably didn't matter anyway because I got my teeth kicked in because that other guy used all of his provisions. So, is there light at the end of the tunnel? If I like Scoia'Tael, where do I start if it's not here with this very deck? Well, luckily you do got some options. After recording the bigger part of this video, I found out TLG updated their decks for patch 7.3, which is both good and bad news for me personally. The deck I covered in this very video was the quote-unquote old deck from up to a few days ago. So you can just go to the website and try the updated version, which has the Trandbor and already looks a lot better to me. So there is that, and I will put a link to the website in the description below. Another route to go is to run this deck, but then put in Invigorate as leader ability and swap in some of the options I mentioned earlier, like the Hawker Smugglers or the Dryad Fletchlings. And lastly, you can always spend some ore on the Scoia'Tael tags and grab some cool stuff you're missing. I would even go as far as saying just run the upgraded version, because that looks just so much better, and there are cool and powerful cards that are honestly there waiting for you if you're willing to craft a few epic and legendary cards. So, where does that leave me? I am going to take a break from Scoia'Tael after trying to get this monstrosity to work. But I will probably try the upgraded version of the Scoia'Tael version at any point in time and cover that in another video of its own. I still have the Skellige and the Nilfgaard budget decks to cover, and those will be updated versions from the TLG's website for patch 7.3. And I may or may not revise the Nilfgaard and monster ones. I personally think those will do just fine in today's meta, so you can still play them. But the Scoia'Tael just sort of became my nemesis in terms of getting budget decks to work. On top of that, I got some other videos planned, like there's another seasonal mode deck for Season of the Cat I would really like to show you. I would really like to figure out a budget deck to get started with the Syndicate faction for you guys to check out for a relatively cheap way to get started with that. And I would also like to do a video soon on whether or not you are a Timmy, a Johnny or a Spike when it comes to having fun in trading card games. So there is a lot of content coming up for you guys. Be sure to tap the subscribe and the bell button so you get notified when it comes out. If you are stubborn like me and would like to check out the old version of the Scoia'Tael budget deck, I will put a link to the Gwent deck library in the description, so you can check it out and start playing it anyway. And be sure to give me some love by upvoting the guide over there as well, and give the video a thumbs up. So that's all for now, and I will see you guys soon.